Shoot. I'm terrible at this.
It's okay, it's a mouthful.
It's 4 things, okay. Picture Shop is a global post-production company working on movies, episodics, unscripted, and commercials. My name is JD Vandenberg. I'm the director of post-production at Picture Shop. I handle the technology to make this place run. My favorite part of working in this industry is to help movies or episodics being made. It's just having this very small part in helping the creatives achieve their vision. For me, it's the most rewarding part. It's interacting, it's interacting with creatives. And it's to always be at the crossing between technology and art and movie making. That's really the biggest boost for me. And I'm always on the lookout for what could make this experience better for the creative.
I'm Doug Delaney, Senior Supervising Colorist at Picture Shop. Let's see, I started in post-production in 1995. Came in through visual effects into the color correction world. I think my favorite part of this industry is just the people you get to meet and work with. Storytellers, producers, directors, and cinematographers.
My name's Peter Doyle. I'm a supervising colorist. So my role at Picture Shop really breaks down that crew will get an image and capture it with a sensor or a piece of film, and then we really manage that through to when it's presented, really marrying color science with color grading and then data management. In my former life, I was really working with visual effects, supervising and producing visual effects. I found that I tended to gravitate more to the color side of visual effects. With the film Matrix, the directors wanted to manipulate the image photochemically. We put together a model where we emulated that digitally. That was really the first case scenario, at least to me, that it showed that it would be viable to color grade a whole film.
Color science is making sure that the end result on the screen, on the display, on the TV, looks as intended and across all the different delivery formats. And also making sure that all different camera and sensors they are bringing in are matching and are used at their maximum capability.
There's been such a profound evolution of the industry since I've been involved in the mid-90s, shooting exclusively on film and having to transition film into digital and then back to film. And I was brought up in that world. So there was a tremendous amount of discipline that was required because you had to sort of seamlessly integrate with digitally processed imagery. And that's kind of where a lot of my fundamentals of color science and image science was born out of, that I can now leverage. To now, the evolution is the vast majority of productions are shot entirely on digital. The process has evolved and changed quite a bit. The tool set is expanded and blown up, and also the expectation of what we as colorists or finishers are asked to do. The line between color correction and visual effects is, if not blurring, is completely gone at this point. We're not necessarily just colorists anymore, we're becoming finishers, and I start to prefer that name of what we do. I always have to be sort of at the forefront of the technology, so it's never a dull moment, certainly. You're always learning, you're always progressing, you're always evolving. One of my most favorite projects I've worked on recently is a show called Sunny. I had to leverage a lot of the technology that I have to bring to bear on the project, including not just color correction, but there was a lot of sort of visual effects work that we had to do in the finishing process, as well as compositing, de-aging, beauty work, a lot of subtitle work, regionalization for different languages. And I think that that's sort of a good indicator where we're going as an industry.
The craft itself has not changed at all. It's really just the actual tools that are allowed to do it. There was a very interesting kind of hybrid workflow for about a decade. The film guys trying to make the digital work like the film. Now what's happening is there is this kind of new way or this third aesthetic, which is taking both digital and film, and rather than trying to make one look like the other, kind of take the best of the both to have this new aesthetic. And that's kind of my interest.
Yeah, there's been a real incredible evolution of the job of colorist or color timer throughout the years. It was a much more technical work, and now it's became, with the advent of digital especially, much more creative job. So part of my job also is to deal with the color science, to figure out how to match all those together and to make them happen seamlessly in the back end. My job is a mix of long-term planning and immediate fires. I always say that the best engineering team is the invisible engineering team. They should never hear from us because it should just go, and they don't need to know how it works. But when it doesn't work, I hear from them immediately.
In the old days, you'd have to work in like little 20-minute blocks because you just couldn't keep that amount of data online. The disks were so slow that it wasn't practical to actually have real-time playback of a 4K image. It just was impossible. I do remember Alfonso Caron helping me wheel into the building an enormous rack of storage, which at the time was another manufacturer, but it was only 20 terabytes.
We provision in general, about 100 terabyte for a feature film, sometimes up to 200 terabyte.
The capabilities of filmmakers now is much, much more than it was even 10 years ago. They can play back, raw camera material on their laptop. And so if there's ever any issue in a giant post-production facility to not be able to do those same things, I think that's a philosophical disconnect.
We have really three big pillars. The KVM access. They need to be able to work on those computers as if they were locally. Challenge number two is the video transport, which is absolutely critical because they need to trust that what they see on the screen or projected is exactly what is on the hard drive, basically, or on the storage. And the third part is the storage. You need to have a storage that you can rely on, that is also able to handle almost anything that you throw at it.
In order just to get playback for these large files, we would have to cache or sort of pre-render a session.
There is a mitigation method that we often use when the storage is not able to perform 100% of the time at the rate that's needed, and it's called caching. A lot of color correctors are built with that caching in mind because it's always been a problem to have a storage that can reach the needed speed. And so we have to do that dance about moving data back and forth. That takes a lot of time.
When you have a client come in and all of a sudden you can't get real-time playback, which is just at this point inexcusable and not acceptable, that was always like a constant source of stress. So not only are you managing the projects, you're taxing the file system at maximum speed, you're playing back, I'm in a session, my second colorist is in another session doing visual effects, the editor's in another session, and my assistant's rendering all simultaneously. So not only are you managing your color correction, but you're managing a cache just to obtain playback. It quickly makes your head spin. I would say one of the turning points for me was just reliability and playback. Like I said, we're balancing multiple projects, multiple episodes, multiple shows, multiple team members, and we just weren't getting the performance and playback that is expected, not only from our clients, but frankly for ourselves. And that quickly became sort of an unacceptable way of working.
The conversations that I had with the colorists that led us to pick WEKA was, we need to be able to play back. And so very quickly, WEKA was mentioned by me and some others. And so then we put a proof of concept together. And again, the numbers were astonishing. And so we quickly decided that was the way to go. When you start using a storage that does not have all these limitations, and suddenly it opens up a new world of simpler workflow and simpler operations. And by that, I mean, you press play, it plays. Doug was very excited. They calling me is like, why is this project still on the old storage? I don't want anything on the old storage anymore. Everything has to go on WEKA now.
WEKA's really brought stability and reliability and also predictability that I'm not actually used to. By using WEKA, we're able to access anything at any time, at any speed. There just seems to be a whole level of anxiety that's just like gone away, which is a godsend.
Me and my whole team noticed an immediate change because we no longer had to prepare for sessions. They were just available to us at any given time. We were able to just focus on the creative process and no longer having to sort of worry about the technology and our playback. Yeah, I found since moving to WEKA, we're able to do more shit.
Success for me looks like a colorist telling me that his session with client went great. That's success. The WEKA platform makes my life a lot easier. I sleep better at night. I sleep better, but yeah, it's a new way of thinking about storage, a new philosophy. Oh, Picture Shop, you said. Well, let me tell you something about Picture Shop. Picture Shop is a global post-production company
Do you want to try it
that
one more
works
time?
on movies, episodic, commercials, and unscripted. That's it.
All right.